Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Theory video actually this time, and today I'm joined by two awesome YouTubers who are new to my channel, but you probably know them anyway. First off, I'm really excited to have him on my channel actually, he's an inspiration to me, but we got Mike from Laughingstock Media. Mike, do you want to actually say hi?
Hey guys, it's Mike here from Laughingstock Media. How's it going?
Awesome, and now we also have the OmniNerd. You want to say hi?
Hey, it's Clay the OmniNerd. How you guys doing?
So guys, today we're going to be talking about future Trunks actually making his debut in Dragon Ball Super this time around, but we're going to be discussing essentially how is it that that's actually going to work in the timeline, and we have our own theories, and before I let these guys talk, I'll basically say mine. Essentially, the way I see this going down is Trunks is going to be coming back, not to ask for help, not to kind of have people solve his problems like the last time, but essentially he's coming back to this specific point in time because he feels that enough time has passed for enough Saiyans to have been born so he can actually himself become the Super Saiyan God. And you might think that that's a little bit weird, but let's hear me out a little. So actually, when Trunks came back, or Cell came back, there was these diverging timelines and everything that kind of hit this Dragon Ball universe.
Yeah.
That we know of, at least, because there's nothing that really prevents the two remaining timelines that we haven't seen from going to the past or the future.
Exactly. So the way I see it is, if we're just looking at future Trunks' timeline and the main timeline as we know it, I think that when Trunks actually goes back, or Cell goes back to create the main timeline, then that creates a ripple effect that we've already seen in Dragon Ball Z. So when he goes back, we actually see like Goku, his heart attack still comes, but it comes a little bit later. He still dies, but he dies a little bit later. There seems to be some sort of a ripple effect that's either causing things to happen a little bit later or a little bit sooner than what we're used to. So if we go into Dragon Ball Super, we see that, okay, the two biggest main things that Trunks and Cell not going back in time would not change in the slightest is essentially Beerus waking up and Champa looking for the Super Dragon Balls. And the way I see it is, because of the fight with Cell and Gohan that was shaking the universe between them when they were struggling with the Kamehameha Wave, shaking the universe actually somehow caused a ripple effect that actually made Beerus sleep in for 3 years, because it's stated to have happened before, at least before in Dragon Ball Battle of Gods, where Whis was like, you don't want to sleep in 3 years again like last time he woke up. So obviously it's possible for him to sleep in multiple years. So when Beerus wakes up 3 years in advance, obviously Trunks is gone in the past and he's fighting Cell. So at that point, Beerus wakes up, he's like, where's the Super Saiyan God? Where's the Saiyans? He's like, well, there was one on Earth, but he's gone, I don't know what happened to him. So he just lets this fester and fester and fester until he kind of comes in contact with Champa, who's looking for the Super Dragon Balls. And instead of having a tournament, they actually wager on a food bet the Super Dragon Balls. Beerus wins. He uses the Super Dragon Balls to actually wish for the Super Saiyan God. And that creates a whole bunch of problems, causing basically Whis or Beerus himself to actually get into contact with Trunks when he comes back. And that's when they know they need other people to actually do the ritual. So what do you have to think about this, guys? What do y'all think?
Well, honestly, there is, one small thing I would have to say. If Beerus slept in 3 years, that would still be far shy of when future Trunks went back in time anyway.
Is that right? Because he was 13, but he was 13, which is around the age that Trunks should have been during Battle of Gods. Is that not right?
Well, future Trunks was 17 when he went back in time. So that would mean that if Beerus came out, say, 4 years later, then we add 3 years to that, Trunks would have been around 15 years old at the time instead of 17. So he probably still would have been on Earth. I mean, it's possible that the Super Saiyan God could have, only been a pure-blooded, which in that case it makes perfect sense. But at the same time, I don't think that's the case, and I think that Trunks going back in time to become a Super Saiyan God makes perfect sense, because there is a possibility that Beerus slept in 5 years instead of 3. We don't really know. Everything is a ripple. So I think that there is a big possibility that what you're saying is true, or what is the possibility to come.
It certainly does sound plausible. I mean, I figured that Trunks would pretty much be coming back to become a Super Saiyan God. Like, what else would we want him to do?
Especially with all the God stuff they introduced in the show.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I was thinking too, is to bring him back and just to have him basically be Gohan, help me. Because the one thing that a lot of people haven't really thought of, or whether they have or not, is essentially Trunks should not know that Goku is alive. He shouldn't know that Goku and Vegeta are basically Super Saiyan gods at this point. If anything, he's going back for Gohan. And I think there's no reason for him to go back at this specific time in the show after everyone's kind of grown up, unless he feels like enough time has passed in a peaceful time other than his own to essentially allow for more Saiyans to be born, as they already have, in which we've seen.
And that makes sense. I mean, why would he go back? Like, if he's stronger now than Gohan was as a teen, and considering what Toriyama said about how Trunks is really powerful, but he's still no match for this Goku. Well, essentially paraphrasing. It makes perfect sense that he would wait a while to go back, or he would go back to a time much further in the future, because he would assume that that Gohan would have kept training the entire time and is now even stronger than he is, because he already was to begin with. And he's sure in for a surprise.
Oh, he's gonna be disappointed.
Oh, just like Trunks crying rivers for like an episode or two would be great. But obviously, like, that brings up a bigger question with, what do y'all think of Black Goku? If this is the case, where do you think Black Goku came from?
GT.
Obviously, like, where else would he come from?
I don't know. I mean, I like your theory that you have proposed, that perhaps he was stolen, like his body or soul, and turned evil. And there are some other theories we talked about in that video with Geekdom 101, which should come up any day now, I would assume. And the fact of the matter is that we don't really know where he would come from, and we don't even know if this is really truly evil Goku in the first place, but they must have done something really strong or really powerful to him to turn him evil, because Goku, the entire series, has always, no matter what happened, refrained from becoming evil. Like, something big must have happened. Maybe they wiped his memory. Maybe they abducted his body, brought him back to life with evil magic, and, wiped his memory. I really don't know how else they could have done it. I mean, Goku turned good by getting, dropping his head directly onto a rock, like a torpedo that didn't detonate, unfortunately.
Maybe he hit his head again. And his original programming, kicked in.
Maybe in the timeline that he's from, when Krillin threw the rock while Goku was sleeping, it was either much bigger or he threw it much harder, so Goku got brain damaged again and became evil.
Essentially, what we were talking about, if you're lost there, was essentially when Goku dies in Trunks' timeline, his body and or soul, or whatever you want to call it, is actually taken by a Makaioshin, which is essentially basically an evil Supreme Kai. Is that right?
Yeah, they're supposed to be the evil inverse, I think, of the Supreme Kais.
Yeah, and we've already seen the Supreme Kai being... The Supreme Kai is able to basically bring someone back to life, essentially by sacrificing themselves. So we know it's possible. So that's where basically...
They are the gods of creation.
Yeah, so maybe an evil Makaioshin could bring Goku back to life, and with this idea that gods like Whis and something can actually give people Super Saiyan God powers, like he did with Vegeta, I guess. Like, that wasn't necessarily explained in the show. But maybe they basically brainwashed him and made him a Super Saiyan God, and now he's much stronger than Beerus. Maybe. I mean, it's really hard to tell.
That would explain Trunks knowing what Super Saiyan God is.
I mean, absolutely. There's got to be some kind of driving motivator that's going to tie into the godhead that we've established in Super so far, because you don't establish all these gods and these, deities that control universes and the Omni King, and then you just have something completely unrelated to them. They're going to find some way to tie it in, and Toriyama did say in his interview it's going to involve not only the Kaioshin, the God of Destruction, and the Omni King. So it must be something related to the gods, I would expect.
Well, you can't say that, Mike, because remember Gohan? They're used to setting something up and just letting it fall.
I mean, it's not like Gohan skipped an arc so he can go to a meeting that he eventually turned down the job for, making the entire point of him skipping it utterly worthless and pointless.
Like, he could have had a phone call and gone to the tournament anyway.
Yeah, he could have used Whis' staff for Skype and just talked face to face with them. Like, it's really not that difficult.
Anyway, guys, we're getting a little bit off topic here. If you enjoyed this video, I will leave Clay and Mike's channel in the description below. Make sure to check them out if you haven't already. I don't know why you haven't if you're subbed to me, but whatever. That's you. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Tell us what you thought about this in the comment section below. Do not forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and have a nice day, everyone. Bye.
See you.
Peace.